Hi guys, in class this week we talked about dominant and recessive traits and that Gregor Mendel is the father of genetics, and due to his experiments with pea plants he figured out that some traits showed up more often and then he called those dominant, and then some traits showed up less often, he called those recessive traits. So that's great to hear about pea plants and the history, but today we want to look at traits within our class and within the 8Ocean team. So we are going to do a genetic survey of what traits you have and then see if overall, the traits that should be dominant in our population are, or if they are not. Okay, so this is called the genetics trait survey. And I'm just going to walk you through this because we would typically do this in class and I don't want you to be confused. So we'll do it to myself. So we're going to take my survey together. So it says here, and you can read the introduction, humans display a variety of traits. Humans display a variety of traits that are controlled by a number of different genes. Some genes, such as skin color, are determined by 3 or more genes, so it's not as simple as Gregor Mendel's pea plants. This is why there are such variety of skin colors. Still, other traits are determined by complex interaction among several different genes, as well as their environment. In this activity, we are simplifying the concepts of genetics by observing some typical dominant and recessive traits and how often they occur in the 8Ocean team. So here's my example. Straight pinkies are a dominant trait, whereas bent pinkies are recessive. So let's check that out on me. So if I would just put my fingers together, and at the top you can see here, I have bent pinkies, which is actually a recessive trait. So we're going to look at different traits amongst ourselves and see, are we more dominant or are we more recessive? And most of us will probably be some kind of a mix. So we're going to start with the hypotheses, and it says are there always more dominant traits in the population? So you're going to figure out this hypothesis. If a trait is dominant, then what should we expect to see in this survey? Here is the procedures. It says look at the picture slideshow, and it's going to go over all the traits we're examining in class. Then on the next slide, examine your own genotypes. You'll complete a Google form, which is the class surveys. We'll look at the results and then we're going to compare the traits that happen the most often in the class if it's genetically dominant. And then we're going to draw our conclusions. And this is a long process, so you get 2 async days to complete this activity. So we're going to click on the picture slideshow and bring that up. And I won't walk you through all of this because I'm sure you can look at pictures yourself, and some of this you actually are quite well aware of. But there's a few traits that you might just not know the difference between the dominant and recessive. Look at the pictures of the various traits we're studying. So we're looking at curly hair versus wavy and straight. So this is your hair type. So both curvy and wavy are dominant. All right, so if you see naturally, mine has a little bit of wave. So my genotype would be, sorry about that, lowercase c, lowercase c. I'm sorry, capital C, lowercase c. Since I'm wavy, I am heterozygous dominant. Next thing we're looking at are free and attached earlobes. Now, this is a little bit difficult, so I'm going to go over this one. So if you follow the trace of the outside of your ear, and if it goes straight to your head, that's called an attached earlobe. That is a recessive trait, whereas the dominant trait in society is this free earlobe. You take and go down, and then you have a little bit of an arch. Mine aren't really very precise, but they are actually free earlobes. So if you look down, oops, let me make this a little bit larger so you can see. My ear comes down, and I have a little bit of a lobe before it hits my head. So this would be a free earlobe. If it was attached, it would go right into my skull, okay? So that's the difference on that one. Let's get back to the presentation. Next trait we're going to study, and we're going to look at eye colors, skin color, if you're a tongue roller or not, the hairline. So you can see with mine, I actually have a widow's peak, meaning that my hairline comes down a little bit here as a point. And that's what you're going to look at for there. Next trait we're looking at are straight thumbs hitchhiker. I have a straight thumb. You're going to check out which way your thumb flexes. Freckles are non-freckles. And with freckles, you don't have to be as severe as this girl right here. If you have any freckles on your face, you have freckles. And then the last one we're looking at is dimples. And when you smile, if you have any dimples, that is a dominant trait. So whether it's 2 or 1, that is dominant. So once you look at the slideshow, then you go and do the survey of your own traits back into your notebook. And I did this for myself already. So let me present this to you. My traits are, I put my phenotype, the physical expression of the trait. I have wavy hair. That's free. I have free earlobes, medium. Then I fill out my genotype following right here. Since I have wavy hair, that's heterozygous, meaning 1 capital, 1 lowercase. All right, so I filled that all out, and then I click here to complete the Google form for the class traits. So we click on there, answer the questions again, and when you finish the end, you're going to hit submit. And when you hit submit, there'll be a link there that says see previous responses, and you want to click on that. So when you see your previous responses, this is going to be all of the class data, and this is one of my previous years. So you're going to take this class data, the first one's curly hair, and I see that 30% have curly hair, while 27% have curly hair, while 74% do not. So I go back to my notebook and I type that in. I go back to my notebook and I type that in that was 26% have curly hair, whereas 74% had straight. All right, and I fill that all out. And what we're looking for here, so what we're looking for once we all fill this out, is does the dominant trait occur most often in our class data? So you can see here this first one, they call curly hair dominant or wavy hair dominant, but it doesn't really happen that way. In our society now today, the dominant trait doesn't always appear. So once you fill out the whole chart and then you can analyze it, there's a few conclusion questions to look at. So do the results really support your hypothesis? And then there's a few more. At the end, you'll have a little bit of vocab for the week. I'm going to change this. You will only have trait and allele and genotype and phenotype. But fill that out and then submit your notebook. This is your only async activity for the week. Thanks for watching the video. I hope it's an interesting finding out about all of your traits. Make sure you check out your parents and see which parent you got your hitchhiker thumb from if you have one, or your widow's peak from if you have one of those. All right, guys, enjoy. See you later.